Have you ever just stopped and really thought about the thing that's doing the thinking? You know, the command center running your entire existence, every thought, every memory, every single feeling you've ever had. Well, buckle up, because that's exactly what we're doing today. We're about to take a guided tour of the most complex object in the known universe, your brain.
Yeah, that's a real description. Not exactly glamorous, is it? Just picture this, a pinkish-gray organ, all wrinkled up like a giant walnut, and it weighs just a little over 3 pounds. It's soft, almost like gelatin, and it's sitting there, right now, protected inside your skull, running the whole show.
And that is the ultimate question, right? How does this blob of, well, oatmeal-like stuff generate the vibrant, technicolor reality that you experience every single moment? To even begin to answer that, our tour has to start at the very, very beginning. So, our first stop on the tour takes us way back in time, before you were even, your entire central nervous system. We're talking brain and spinal cord. It all starts its incredible journey as this simple, hollow little thing called the embryonic neural tube. So, around the 4th week of pregnancy, this little tube starts to form, and by just 5 weeks, look at this, its front end begins to swell up and change. It might not look like much yet, but these 3 simple bumps, the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain, they are literally the seeds of everything that is to come. Now, let's fast forward to just 13 weeks. Look at that incredible growth. The front of that simple tube is just ballooning out, it's folding. It's developing into structures we can actually start to recognize. You can see the cerebrum, the main event, really starting to take shape, and that little cerebellum at the back too. And then, by birth, wow, that simple tube has completely transformed into the largest and most complex mass of nervous tissue in your entire body. It's just a mind-blowing feat of biological engineering, and it all happens in just 9 months. Okay, now for the main attraction on our tour. Let's get into the most superior and, by far, the biggest part of the brain, the part you always picture with all those famous wrinkles. Let's talk about the cerebrum.
So all those famous wrinkles, they are not random at all. The elevated ridges are called gyri, and the shallow grooves in between are called sulci. This whole folding design is basically a brilliant evolutionary trick. It's how you pack a massive amount of brain tissue, the cerebral cortex, into the tiny space of your skull. More surface area equals way more processing power.
Now, the cerebrum is split right down the middle into 2 halves. You've got the left and the right cerebral hemispheres. And they're separated by a super deep groove called the longitudinal fissure. And while they might look like mirror images of each other, they actually have their own specialties. Generally speaking, you can think of the left hemisphere as the detail-oriented analyst, handling logic and language. And the right is more like a creative artist, focusing on things like spatial awareness and imagination. But here's the key. They don't work alone. They are in constant communication through this superhighway of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum, making sure both sides work together as one. Each of those hemispheres is then broken down into 4 main lobes, and each one has a different set of jobs. You've got the frontal lobe up front for reasoning, the parietal for sensation, the temporal on the sides for hearing, and the occipital way in the back for vision. They're all working together all the time to interpret your world and control your actions. Okay, now this is one of my favorite things in all of neuroscience. This is how the brain actually maps our bodies. It's called the homunculus, or little man. It's basically a distorted visual map that shows how much of your cerebral cortex is dedicated to controlling and sensing different body parts. On the left, that's the motor cortex for movement, and on the right, the sensory cortex for feeling. It's not about how big the body part is in real life, but how important it is to your brain. So, you notice anything a little disproportionate? Look at the hands and the lips. They are enormous on this map. And that's because these are the areas with the most sensitive touch receptors and the most precise motor control. Your brain dedicates a massive amount of real estate to your hands for interacting with the world, and to your mouth for speaking and expression. All right, let's go deeper on our tour. We're moving past the centers of conscious thought and heading down into the hidden engine room. These older, more primitive structures that keep all your body's essential systems running on complete autopilot. Tucked way down underneath the cerebrum, we find the brainstem and these other deep structures. I want you to think of these as the core operational hubs.
This is mission control, managing all the automatic functions you never, ever have to think about.
So let's break it down with a few simple analogies, because it makes it way easier. The thalamus, that's your sensory switchboard. It takes in pretty much all sensory information and routes it to the right part of the cerebrum. The hypothalamus, right below it, is your body's control panel, regulating things like body temperature, hunger, and thirst. And the brainstem? That is the ultimate autopilot for survival. It's controlling your breathing, your heartbeat, all the vital stuff.
All right, we've reached the final destination on our tour, but trust me, it is a critical one. Let's take a look at the structure at the back of the brain, the part that's sometimes called the little brain, the cerebellum. See it there? Tucked right underneath the back of the cerebrum. Now, while it's sometimes called the little brain, I promise you its function is absolutely massive for pretty much everything you do physically. So, what's its job? The cerebellum is your master coordinator. It gives you the precise timing for muscle activity. It controls your balance, and it makes sure your movements are smooth, not all jerky and clumsy. And here's the really cool part. It's where you perfect skills. When you learn to ride a bike or play the guitar, the cerebellum helps automate those actions. It takes them from clumsy, conscious effort to a smooth, graceful, unconscious habit. And that brings our tour to a close. It's just amazing when you think about it. From the intricate folds of the cerebrum handling abstract thought, to the brainstem's life-sustaining rhythms, and the cerebellum's graceful coordination, it is all a seamless, breathtakingly complex symphony of parts, all working together to create, well, to create you. So we're going to end with this pretty wild thought. The brain is the only organ we know of that has tried to understand itself. We've used this incredible organ to map itself out, to take this very tour. It's like a loop of consciousness studying consciousness. And it just makes you wonder, as we learn more and more about these 3 pounds of cold oatmeal, what profound secrets about ourselves are we about to uncover next?